Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria goes down this weekend at UFC 298. In this video, I'm going to be giving you guys my full breakdown and prediction of the fight. And let's just dive right into it. Don't forget to subscribe, follow the TikTok, same name as on here. And I mean, this is just simply an incredible fight. On one hand, we have Alexander Volkanovski as the champion who is going into this fight just being doubted upon. I mean, I've never seen such a switch up so fast after a knockout. At one point, he is the best fighter in the world without a shadow of a doubt. And then a few months later, he's washed. He's too old. He's over the hill. He's going to get knocked out. And, you know, he could get knocked out. He could. But I just feel like people are doubting Volkanovski a little bit too much in this fight. We can't remember this is the guy who has dominated Max Holloway on multiple occasions, dominated Yair Rodriguez, had a super close fight with Islam Makhachev, who looks simply unbeatable at lightweight. So I think that's an issue going into this fight with a lot of fans. They're doubting Volkanovski, guys. Let's be real. And then on the other hand, we have Ilia Topuria, who's simply a monster. He's 27 years old, and he is just destroying people. You look at that fight with Bryce Mitchell. He made that fight look easy. Yeah, Bryce Mitchell landed a few shots, but Topuria, I mean, he kind of toyed with him. He did what he wanted to on the ground, found that arm triangle submission pretty easily. He knocked down Bryce Mitchell, and he's overall just so good, man. And I've been super back and forth on this fight because this is Alexander Volkanovski's biggest test at 145 pounds, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is the most well-rounded fighter that Alexander Volkanovski can fight at 145 pounds. Ilia Topuria, he has the knockout power, some of the craziest power we've ever seen in the featherweight division. Topuria has the submissions, and I feel like Topuria's grappling is a little underrated. I mean, you look at his fights outside of the UFC, it's submission after submission after submission after submission. So Topuria is so well-rounded, and this is such an intriguing stylistic matchup. And I think a big thing is that reach advantage for Volkanovski. He is going in with a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Oh, my phone's going off. That's not great. But Volkanovski, he has the 71.5-inch reach. Topuria has the 69-inch reach. So I feel like that could be big going into this fight. The stylistic clash is just crazy. This fight's going to be so good. And as I've said earlier, I'm so back and forth. But this video has to go out eventually. I mean, the fight's in a day. The video's got to go out. I've been back and forth. After Josh Emmett, the Josh Emmett fight with Topuria, I said he was going to beat Volkanovski. Even after the Bryce Mitchell fight, I'm like, ooh, this guy's really good. Maybe he beats Volkanovski. He's super well-rounded. And I've been on that train. I've been on the train of Topuria beats Volkanovski for over a year now, since that Bryce Mitchell fight. I don't even know when that fight was. I think UFC 282, Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's when that fight went down. But I've been on the train. I've been super back and forth this week, but my official prediction is Alexander Volkanovski, and still, I think he's going to retain the featherweight title. Ooh, that's tough, man. It's such a close fight. And I feel like just the biggest thing in this fight are going to be those leg kicks for Alexander Volkanovski. We know Ilia Topuria has that super low stance. He's kind of hunched down, and it helps him. It helps Ilia Topuria because it helps him explode into his boxing combinations. I mean, this guy has some of the most fluid boxing in the UFC, and I'd go as far as saying Ilia Topuria is the best boxer in the UFC in terms of, the boxing fundamentals, the boxing fluidity. His ability to go from the body to the head is just unparalleled in the UFC. It really is. So that low stance helps him, but against a guy like Alexander Volkanovski, who could chop your leg down like a tree, I feel like it could be a problem for him. Now, he is only 27. He's really young. Maybe he tweaked his game a little bit going into this fight, but I feel like Volkanovski's going to just tear up that lead leg, and then Volkanovski is just going to start to beat him up throughout the fight as the fight goes on to those later championship rounds, maybe the 4th and the 5th. So yeah, I'm going to go with Volkanovski by 5th round knockout, 5th round TKO. I think he's going to find the finish on Topuria. I think, as inexperienced as Topuria is, as that fight goes into the later rounds, as he is getting his lower legs just chopped off, I think he's going to try to look for that kill shot as he knows he's starting to lose the fight. Maybe he steals the first round, right? Maybe he steals the first round, but as the fight goes on, I see Volkanovski slowly starting to take over. Maybe Volk wins that second, third, fourth round, and in that fifth round, Topuria is kind of getting desperate, and then Volkanovski just starts to pick him apart and finds a late round finish, maybe a ground and pound finish. But Topuria could absolutely win this fight, guys. Let's be completely real. Topuria could win this fight, but I just think Volkanovski's experience, I think the mistakes that Topuria does sometimes, maybe overextending, throwing that right hand that he throws kind of telegraphed. I think Volkanovski's going to see that. I posted my breakdown and prediction, or no, just my breakdown of Ilia Topuria's fight against Bryce Mitchell. Check that out. I posted that yesterday, but there was a lot of things where I saw, I'm like, ooh, Volkanovski could exploit that. Volkanovski's going to see that. And I just think Volkanovski's fight IQ, he's too smart. He's going to find those, trends in Topuria's game, and I think he's going to find the finish. Now, as I said, Topuria could win this fight. I'd like to see Topuria as the smaller man in terms of reach try to draw Volkanovski in. He did that super well in the Bryce Mitchell fight. He drew Bryce in, then he throws the combinations, then he throws the jab, left hook, then follows with the right hand. I feel like that's a thing, or that's a combination where Topuria could be super successful in this fight. Drag Volkanovski in with your shorter reach, then throw those combinations. And for Volkanovski, just stay moving, man. Just stay moving. You have the reach advantage. You could pitter pat from the outside. Not fight super slow, of course, but throw the leg kick, keep moving, jab, just keep moving. You can't stay stationary against Ilia Topuria because he will find you with his boxing combinations, as I said. And man, this is just such an intriguing fight. It's so close. It's really hard to predict because it can go any way. I just think the leg kicks of Topuria, or Volkanovski, are going to be the biggest thing in this fight. But Topuria, just stay feinting. I feel like the wrestling game of both guys could be a factor in this fight. Topuria is so hunched over, it kind of helps him. Avoid takedowns. His sprawling ability is really, really high level. I could see Volkanovski going for some offensive wrestling in this fight. I don't know if there'd be too many takedown shot from either guy. Maybe when one guy's finishing a combination, one goes for a takedown, lands it. I feel like the grappling of Volkanovski will be more of an advantage rather than Topuria's grappling. And Topuria is probably a better grappler in this fight, but in terms of pure wrestling at 145 pounds, I don't really know who outdoes Volkanovski. I mean, this guy is so much stronger than every 145 pounder. And I think his top pressure, if he were to get on top, could be a big issue. However, Ilia Topuria, he's so good off of his back. He knows how to stay safe, and he could throw up submission attempts. So, Volkanovski can bring this fight to the ground, but Topuria is so well-rounded. He's got to watch out for those triangle chokes and anything else Topuria wants to do off of the ground. So it's super interesting. So how I see this fight going, it's close. First round, I think both guys are going to be a little patient. I'd like to see Topuria stay very patient throughout this fight, because if he starts throwing these crazy shots, these untimed shots, Volkanovski will pick him apart, guys. Let's be completely real. Volkanovski will pick him apart, and he will find the knockout shot. So Topuria's got to stay patient in this fight. Pick his shots well. Don't overextend. Use your jab. Use your jab to the body. Lots of feints. Back Volkanovski up against the cage. Back him up. Then you could start to throw your combinations. This dude, his ability to go from the body to the head is the best in the UFC. It's the best. So if he could get Volkanovski back up against the cage, Topuria use those feints. He's got a lot of head movement. I think that could be huge for him in this fight. But first round, I think it'll be close. Volkanovski's starting to slowly chop those lead leg. Second round comes along. Maybe Topuria wins that first round. Second round comes along, and it's like, okay, Volkanovski's starting to find a rhythm, Topuria, he's landing a few shots, but, Volk's slowly starting to get ahead. Third round comes along, fourth round comes along. It's Volkanovski. Topuria might land a few clean shots, and Volk's like, yeah, let's go. But I feel like Volk's going to just chop the leg. Then he's going to start working to the body. Then he's going to start working to the head. And then Volkanovski's going to get into that rhythm where you really can't stop him. You really can't stop him. And Topuria is going to be a threat this entire game, or this entire fight and game. What am I talking about? He's going to be a threat. So Volkanovski's going to have 25 minutes of full concentration because Topuria is so dangerous. But I feel like when Volk gets in a rhythm, you can't really stop him. And then by that fifth round, or the fourth or fifth, Volkanovski's just going to kind of tear away the base of Topuria. He's not going to be able to throw those power shots as he'd like to. And then Volkanovski will start throwing the 1-2s, start throwing from weird angles where Topuria can't really hit him. And then he's going to find that shot in the fifth round where Topuria is kind of beaten up, finds the shot, maybe stumbles or wobbles Topuria. Then he shoots a double leg, dumps him on his back, similarly to the Yair Rodriguez fight, and then just beats Topuria up and then finds the finish. As I said, Topuria's good off of his back, but in the fifth round where he's getting beaten up, I'm not so sure how effective he'd be. So I see Topuria struggling in this fight, but having his moments. But I was super close to picking Topuria because we got to talk about that Islam Makhachev fight with Alexander Volkanovski. We really do, because that's something you need to talk about. The dude got knocked out pretty badly a few months ago. Now, we saw a guy like Alex Pereira get knocked out even worse against Israel Adesanya. Then he went up in weight, which could have helped him, but then he beat Jan Blachowicz and then won a UFC championship. So I don't feel like we should be talking about this Islam fight as much. Of course, it's going to be a factor, but when you make these predictions, that has to be somewhat of a side thought. Still have it in your mind, but ultimately for me, when I make my predictions, it's style versus style. Which style will prevail? And I think it's going to be Alexander Volkanovski. But maybe he comes into this fight looking weird. Maybe he doesn't throw the shots. Maybe he doesn't know, or he's a little bit concerned. Oh, what if I get knocked out? I'm not going to throw my shots that I want to. You saw Kamaru Usman fight in the second Leon Edwards fight, or the second championship fight. And then in his fight with Khamzat Chimaev, he doesn't look fully confident. So maybe Volkanovski comes into this fight not with the utmost confidence like he would, knowing that there's a knockout potential, or he comes into this fight fully confident and then he just simply steamrolls Topuria. However, that knockout's going to be in his head. So it's super interesting. So yeah, official prediction, Alexander Volkanovski by fifth round knockout, ground and pound finish, super close fight. It could go either way. If Topuria were to win, I'd go by knockout. Of course, the submission threat is always there, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Topuria finds a submission. Volkanovski has been put in submission threat before, obviously by Brian Ortega. And I think Topuria's grappling is underrated, as I said, but I just don't see Volkanovski getting submitted. It seems damn near impossible in the UFC, let's be completely real. So if Topuria were to find a finish, I think it's going to be by knockout, and I think if he were to win this fight, it would be by knockout, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Let's be completely real. It wouldn't surprise me. I've said Topuria is going to beat Volkanovski for a really long time, but I finally switched up. I got to go with simply the better fighter. And the better fighter is Alexander Volkanovski. This man, in my opinion, is a top 5 UFC fighter of all time. And if he beats Ilia Topuria, I mean, all doubters will just shut up. All doubters will shut up if Alexander Volkanovski gets the win. Then where does he go after this? I'm not too sure. Does he move back up to lightweight? Does he fight a guy like Movsar Evloev, who I think he'd kind of toy with? I think he'd beat up Movsar Evloev quite easily. Does he make that move back up to lightweight? That's very interesting. A lot of talking points to come after this fight if Volkanovski wins, and from Topuria. I mean, if Topuria finds a knockout, this dude's going to be a megastar. I mean, the confidence that this guy is bringing into this fight, I love it. I love the confidence he's bringing. He's going to get humiliated if he loses, but you gamble on your skills if you're fighting for a world title. So I love it from Topuria, but I think old man Volkanovski is going to get it done. I think Topuria is going to have his moments, but I think overall Volkanovski going into that finish, like I predict, is going to be like, oh, we're going to be like, oh, Volkanovski, okay, he's starting to take over here. So yeah, Volkanovski, 5th round knockout. I am so excited for this fight. It could go either way, as I keep saying. I'm so excited, man. Saturday night, Volkanovski versus Topuria. Let's go, boys. Let's go. I'm so excited. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you agree with the prediction, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Subscribe, follow the TikTok. I'm going to start to post more and more on here. So yeah, let me know what you think. Subscribe, follow. I'll see you Saturday night. Let's go.